Hi, everyone. I'm Belinda Gishnak, and I wanted to do a presentation of Margrith Devat's in memoriam. Next slide. Oh, go back a little bit. So thanks to Mr. Christian Freiner, he told me that Devat is her married name and Widmer is her maiden name. Next slide. She was born on February the 3rd, 1948, and she died on October the 23rd, 2021. Next. I put the, so what I did was, it was from the Stymie der Wassermann site for March of 2022. And what I did was I put German and then English, German and English. So I'm gonna read the English part. So Margrith was born in 1948 as the fifth and last child into a strictly religious family living in Basel. Her childhood was marked by beatings and abuse. And the next slide is, I just took I found a picture of Basel just for you to see. I think it's very pretty. On October the 23rd, 2021, she died in her kitchen while preparing a meal. Next. Yep. So now it's page 41. What I read was page 40 in the Wassermann site. And here's the German. Now we're on page 41. After finishing regular school, Margrith completed a one-year training for hospital assistants, after which she worked for 7 years as an auxiliary nurse at the Kantonsspital Basel. Next. Through a life marked by violence and abuse, she could not build social friendships, but needed her last, I would say, powers, her strength and powers for school and education. Next. When she got married, she continued to suffer humiliation in all kinds of forms, such as abuse, humiliation, and harassment. In the two marriages, she became mother of 4 children. She had 2 daughters and 2 sons. She gave the children and later the grandchildren as much love and care as she could, while she tried to put away the everyday humiliations in order to be able to do her household and farming duties. It translated with peasant family, but I just thought household and farming duties sounded better. Margrith was extremely exhausted. All right, next. Okay, in 2001, in collaboration with the social service, Margrith was finally able to help herself out of a life full of fear, terror, and suicidal thoughts to accept admission to a psychotherapeutic clinic. At the same time, she was helped to move into her own home, which was, of course, a big challenge for her. It took her quite a while to get used to it, completely disturbed by her fears, physical pain, and lack of future prospects, as well as full of shame and guilt. Because she had simply left her husband without warning, Margrith entered the clinic. She had spent her whole life hiding behind the work without any social contacts outside of the family. Talking about her own wishes and needs was a foreign idea to her because she had never learned that in her life. Margrith tried to get involved in various social situations in the clinic, as well as later in a residential group, from where she could also work as a saleswoman in an organic shop. I guess it's a food organic shop. Furthermore, she dared to drink something. She dared to do something different, like drink something in the cafe and talk about this and that freely, or to eat something in a restaurant, as well as to walk along the stream from her new home and to listen to nature, to discover new things, to marvel and to learn, to enjoy, and much more. Later, she felt joy for the first time in her life. She didn't know what it was. She tried to describe the feeling, and for the first time in her life, Margaret thought she could feel pure joy in her narration, the story of her life. Okay, now we're on page 42 in the Steinmer der Wassermann site. I just wanted just to show you how it's laid out in the book. Over the years, Margrith became interested in FIGU overall, in the books in the community, meeting people, being interested in the lectures about life, the fauna and flora, and our place in the universe, as well as in coping with different destinies of other people. She was contributing her own opinions. In order to get further life advance, Margrith liked to talk on the phone with Billy Meyer. Out of a great joy and gratitude towards Billy for his vital advice for her, she told him original jokes about which she was very happy. He must have been good jokes. I'd have liked to hear that. Okay. Over time, she became brave on her own initiative to visit her sister and other relatives, and even to talk to her former husbands on equal terms about important and different things. Slowly, she developed self-confidence, love, and tolerance, deep, true joy and inner peace, and built up to a person of self-dignity. She came home in herself, in inner peace and true joy. One of her daughters said, in the last few years, she had been on a high, full of joy and drive, laughing and playing with the grandchildren like never before. She has lived. And this is in Precious Memory, Karen Wallen, and she wrote this article. Could I please ask if you can go back to the very first slide with her face? This is what, her face attracted me to do this. If you can see her smile, it's like a faint smile. So that interested me to, because I knew that there's something in FIGU that talked about smiles in your face and your appearance. So I found something in I forgot what it's called, the wisdom, a little bit of wisdom. And it's on the future mankind. Yeah, so that's the link, the future mankind, the little bit of knowledge and wisdom. And I just took that paragraph and I broke it down into 4 other slides. So the first slide is, in the constant argument between the 2 forms of self, other factors continually attempt to interfere, which overlayingly and superficially fight again and again to misguidingly shove themselves above the current occurrences of self-struggle. However, the innermost self nonetheless incessantly struggles through again and again and again and again, always drowns out and covers over the outer self, which is foreign to creation and is created by the human being himself or herself. It is always there, constantly ready to break through the accumulated, tangled confusion of the outer personality in order to allow the human being's thinking and feeling to assiduously flourish and be effective in accordance with the innermost creational self. This may very often only happen elusively, but it also proves its existence through the human becoming contemplative and contemplating the most varied things, events, and situations, as well as his or her behavior and virtues and so forth. Even if that often only happens for extremely short periods without great effect and calls forth no noteworthy change of the external self, the external personality. Nonetheless, the innermost self constantly has the power to bring at least a vague smile to the human being's facial features, even if this is only brief and barely noticeable. However, this fine smile testifies that the innermost the spiritual, the creational self, without doubt, stands above everything, invulnerable, exalted, and wise, quite in contrast to the outer self, the outer personality, which is positioned outwardly for show and through which the human abases himself, herself, and presses him or herself into the dust. And that's my presentation, the end, and thank you.